A7 of the OWASP Top 10 is cross-site scripting, or XSS. Cross-site scripting attacks occur when an attacker sends untrusted data to a web browser with no proper input validating and escaping. Successful attempts allow script execution in a victim's browser, which can hijack user sessions, deface sites, redirect users to malicious sites, etc. There are 3 different types of cross-site scripting, which I will cover now. Reflected cross-site scripting. The application or API includes unvalidated and unescaped user input as part of HTML output. A successful attack can allow the attacker to execute arbitrary HTML and JavaScript in the victim's browser. Typically, the user will need to interact with some sort of malicious link that points to an attacker-controlled page, such as malicious watering hole websites, advertisements, or similar. Stored cross-site scripting. The application or API stores unsanitized user input that is viewed at a later time by another user or an administrator. Stored cross-site scripting is often considered a high or critical risk. DOM cross-site scripting. JavaScript frameworks, single-page applications, and APIs that dynamically include attacker-controllable data to a page are vulnerable to DOM cross-site scripting. Ideally, the application would not send attacker-controllable data to unsafe JavaScript APIs. Typical cross-site scripting attacks include session stealing, account takeover, multi-factor authentication bypass, DOM node replacement or defacement, such as with Trojan login panels, attacks against the user's browser, such as malicious software downloads, keylogging, and other client-side attacks. Let's head to WebGoat's cross-site scripting lesson. Okay, this simple example instructs us to use JavaScript to create a pop-up that shows the currently used cookie on 2 tabs and say whether the cookies are the same on either tab. Let's go ahead and demonstrate that functionality. Let's go ahead and copy this, create a new tab. Okay. Just go to the same page here. All right. So it says to simply paste this JavaScript here in each tab. So here's the first tab. To type in JavaScript. Okay. Here's the JSON ID. Do the same thing on the other side. All right, let me just pop this out here. All right, same one. So the cookies are the same on either tab. Let's just close this one. The answer here is yes, the cookies are the same in each tab. Move on to the next one. This next one has instructions that are sort of vague, but they want you to first identify the vulnerable web form field and then craft a URL that will utilize the supplied JavaScript payload. First step is to figure out which one of these fields is vulnerable. So we're just going to be using this attack payload here and pasting in each field to see which one is vulnerable. Nothing happened there. Again, all I'm doing is pasting this in each one of these fields and clicking purchase. So far, none of these fields are vulnerable. Alright, so this field for enter your credit card number is vulnerable to cross-site scripting. Now let's open up Burp Suite to intercept the traffic to craft a URL to simulate a reflected cross-site scripting attack. Here I have the Burp Suite intercepting on. Same thing as before, I just have the JavaScript here in the credit card number field. Click purchase. Alright, so just going to copy that. Copy URL. So drop this and turn the intercepting off. Just load up another tab here. Here we go. We have the URL. Same thing as before, but this is a demonstration of how a reflected cross-site scripting attack would work with a malicious URL. This next lesson, number 10, has us identifying potential for DOM-based cross-site scripting. So the instructions tell us to identify where the test script is located on the WebGoat server. The instructions tell us that the base route is start.mvc hash, and we're looking for a script named test. So let's start out with the information they gave us. Start.mvc hash. Now we're looking for a script named test. So let's try test. No, look at the example. Check the goatrouter.js file. Let's try test /. Good. Let's move on to the next one. Now we need to perform a DOM cross-site scripting attack in order to trigger a function called webgoat.customjs.phoneHome. First, let's see if we can execute JavaScript using the test script that we got from the previous lesson. I have here the test script, and then my cross-site scripting attack. Just alert DOM XSS works. Good. We see the pop-up. We know it's vulnerable. Let's go back. Now I'm going to try to execute the script as instructed. Open up another tab here. Same thing as before. We have the test script and the cross-site scripting attack, but I need to change this part here. We're not going to use alert. We're going to use webgoat.customjs.phoneHome, 2 brackets and a semicolon. But I want to intercept that with Burp Suite so I can view the server-side response. So have intercepting on. Now I'm going to go to the HTTP history and take a look at these responses. The last response here is the one of interest. See, it gives us lesson completed true. Congrats, you've successfully completed the assignment. And most importantly, we have this random value. This is the whole point of using the script, so we can get this value, because once we trigger it, it will give us a random number that we're supposed to submit below. I have it right here. Oh, we still have the proxy intercepting. Turn that off. Correct. Hope you didn't cheat. No, we didn't. We used the intercepting proxy, and that is done. Let's move on to the last one here. Alright, so this one is the same as before. However, we're going to be using stored cross-site scripting instead of DOM. So let's go down. All we need to do is call the phone home function. So I'll just place the script in here, phone home, and we will want to have Burp Suite running so we can see the server-side response. Here's what we're injecting. So we can forward that. Just forward all of it and look at the HTTP history. Good. Same thing as before. We have this random value. Let's just copy that. Turn the intercepting off. Correct value. Okay. Now let's make sure that the script runs again when we reload the page, since that's how stored cross-site scripting is supposed to work. So when we reloaded that page, we should have a different phone home response value. This is the one from before. This is the new one. Great. So it's running as expected.